Hey guys, today I want to talk about Phallos by Samuel Delany. Now, this is one of my favorite books I've read this year, out of the three, including this one. So, this is another piece of Delany erotica, and oh my god, this book is so cool. And we're gonna have to talk about the background for this book a bit. Well, not the background, but the structure. So, what this book is, and it's you see this in the first part, it is about a man, Adrian Rome, who is from Short Rumbling, and Short's mentioned at the beginning as well. So this predates Short Rumbling, so really excited to see these two characters again. But Adrian Rome, there's a piece of gay erotica that he's heard about and he's seen twice. The first time, the cleaning lady threw it out, and the second time, something happened where he just didn't have a chance to get it. So he's had it in his possession twice, and he just missed it. And he never actually reads this piece of erotica. And what he finds is an online summary of it. So somebody online giving their own summary of it as well. And Short read the novel, which is kind of strange, because Short's not the most learned guy in the world. But that's just the setup. That's like in the first page. The whole novel is you reading this erotica written around the 1965 or so. And so it's kind of like House of Leaves kind of thing where you have footnotes throughout it. You have the author of the summary and his friends commenting on the summary itself and what parts he's leaving out, what parts he's leaving in, and aspects of Greek culture. And that ties into the theme of the actual erotic novel, where it's about a young man in the Greek. I think his name is Neopolaptis. I can't say it. He is going through multiple things of sexual experiences and different people he's had, and it's his coming of age story, how he goes to an old man, while also being intertwined with the object Phallos, which also may or may not be real, and may or may not see the real version of Phallos. So all those things combined is just so cool for a 120-page book. I loved it. That was just a cool thing. But let's focus a little bit on the Greek story, because that does take up a bulk of it. I'm surprised this story came after Hog. And the reason I say that is because I know Hog was written really long before it was published. And this one coming after it, Delany pulls his punches a lot with a lot of the sex scenes. So one thing he'll do is that he'll kind of go like, oh yeah, there was like 50 pages of like masturbation and or stuff like that. Like, oh, it was a great sex scene, I just can't put it here now. And so I thought it was Delany dipping his toes in the erotica and seeing how much he can get away with. But this came after Hog, and Hog, he went full hog on that. So it's kind of a funny thing that he's a bit more subdued and like boyish with the sex scenes in here. But the story is just a young Greek boy. He gets sold into slavery. He has his first sexual partner with a master, then with a bandit, and then he gets into some world figures. And it just him, and about the core of it is him and his different sexual experiences with other men going throughout the story, and how other men, and seeing other men's sexual gay experiences as well. Like there's a scene in the bathhouse where he sees one guy, he sees two guys, and he sees them in the bathhouse. And in the bathhouse, the big burly one, he sucks him off and stuff like that. And then he sees the other guy who's in love with the big burly one, and he has a bigger pecker. And he's like, hey, why don't you go with him? And no, he wouldn't before that. Like, but I just love being near him and everything. That's a sad relationship where he loves this other guy and he spends all this time with him, but the other guy is no way going to reciprocate his love. Even though the other guy, because the first guy doesn't think he's gay, but he actually is gay, and then he's having sex with this random guy he met out of nowhere. The main character's like, whoa, I'm not going to tell him what we just did then. It just kind of like that. But a lot of the Greek elements are super strong, and you can tell Delany kind of dives into this literary criticism where he talks about all the Greek people and all the different philosophers in the footnotes as well. And he just kind of shows off a little bit. It reminds me of this novel he recommended me called Seven Greeks by Guy Davenport. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't read it, but I can wager money most likely that influenced the novel as well. But also the thing that comes in is the idea of Phallos, this penis object that with gold and jewels and everything, and the character gets a hold of it twice, kind of. The first time he gets a hold of it, like, oh, it's hollow. Like they tell him, like, yeah, it's hollow. It's just a semiclaimant or facsimile. Probably facsimile is a better word for it. It's not the real one, but it's meant to represent it. And there's this secret code, and some guy's like, "Hey, he has Phallos," so he throws it and it gets away. And then later on in his life, he gets in contact with the same fake, and it's like, "Oh, it's the Phallos again." And he realizes there's a bunch of different fakes going around with Phallos, and he kind of comes to the conclusion. It's almost like the themes of Lookout Cartridge, that Phallos isn't so much the object; it's the experiences that they go through, that they have with other individuals. And like there's one beautiful quote in the book, sad and beautiful, was like, all these years I thought I was learning more about love, but I was just learning how to love these individual people, which just rings so true. It's like you think you know something, but it's like, oh, I just learned how to love this one individual. That's not really representative of how love actually is. And then we ever get a great definition. So the object Phallos is just more the sexual experiences he has with others, and it's meant to represent the idea. Until, spoilers, he gets a hold. Well, he doesn't get a hold, but he's in the vicinity and he hears from one of the priests of the cult who have Phallos, the real Phallos. And the real Phallos is a horrible tool. It is full of spikes and blades, and they're gonna use it for a ritual that they do once a year to penetrate this young boy and kill him. And the main character's like, screw that. Like, no, like I'll buy this boy. How much? Like, it's like $35. I don't know the currency exchange, but like 35. And that kind of echoes back to when the character was bought from a spy slaver at a young age. And, he has sex with that boy and he teaches him and everything. But so when he comes across the actual Phallos, he's horrified by it. But is that the actual Phallos? I think it is. But it's also an interesting thing. Well, the fake Phallos has a much more beautiful message, and the real one is so horrible and ugly. It's almost like that thing, be careful what you wish for. So, kind of like Lookout Cartridge, where it's like, which version of the movie is the real one? Is it the one that was filmed? Or was the one that was edited? Was it the original journal notes? Which one is the real Phallos? Because even though we make a distinct delineation between the real and the fake one has much more of a beautiful meaning. And maybe if you look at the normal churches as well, the further you go back on stuff, the further you realize, like, oh, wait, they were okay with having multiple wives if you were a king and stuff like that. Like, oh, some of the stuff in the Buddhist text was very sexist as well. Maybe the politics of the church and how they changed the ideology of it, it's like, well, it's changed and morphed, but maybe it's a better method than what we had before. So, and it just goes back to that thing. Which one is the real one? Is it the true original, or the one that has a more meaningful message, but is manufactured and to fool people, and there's just a lot more of? And then that reflects back into the actual novel, where, especially near the end of it, the friends of the guy doing the online summary is commenting like, hey, you left out a lot of stuff. Like, they were like, oh, maybe this could have done better with like women or like black representation. But then one person's like, hey man, there was a lot of black sex in this novel that you left out. Or like, hey, there was this also other thing. What you doing, Kay? There was also other things where like there was a lot more women in the novel that you really didn't touch upon. You focused more on the gay relationships. And again, like I said in my Lookout Cartridge review, which version of the book is the most direct one? Like, let's say you never had a chance to read this book again. Which reviewer has the best take on it? Which iteration of it is going to have the most meaning? There's obviously aspects on this novel that I'm not touching upon with every book I read, because that's going to be a lot and I don't take notes. But, it just goes to the idea, though, there's so much stuff out. It's the postmodern idea that we don't really view the world directly. We view the land through a lens, like almost like a game of telephone. Booga, 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 booga. Wherein that a lot of texts and a lot of stuff, like the Bible again, to bring it up. Y'all don't read the original Hebrew. And then the original Hebrew is probably like very outdated and, very subject to interpretation. Like, I think the term Nephilim only comes up once in the Bible. I was like, what the hell's a Nephilim? Even if you read the original text, you have to come with some form of your own interpretation. However, most people who've read the Bible haven't read the original text. They've read a translation, they've read a summary, they've heard it summaries from their pastors. And it just becomes this weird amalgamation like, well, which one's the real one? Maybe there's better messages in later on in the one in the real text as well. My cat is going crazy. The things we choose to focus on, whether we're aware of it or not, really changes the messaging and the themes of the book and the novel or the source material. That's why I love this. For Delany to accomplish all this with a really cool Greek erotic novel and combination with like literary criticism and all these postmodern themes into 120 pages, absolutely genius. I loved it. I think one small criticism, that's more like a nitpick. It's not like House of Leaves where there's always crazy stuff happening every page. I would have been cool if I saw that a bit more, maybe a bit more footnotes. But the big focus is on the Greek story as well, and I think that's just me being a little petty. It's not really a big criticism, but yeah, if you like stuff like House of Leaves, you like the themes of Lookout Cartridge. If you want to see erotica done in like an old timey setting like Greek, while still being very accurate to the culture, I definitely recommend Phallos. It's only 120 pages. It's incredible, and I just love this book. Plus, show Romulus in the book too for like one sentence. So yeah, Phallos by Samuel Delany. Please check it out. If you're curious about his erotica in any fashion, this is an amazing starting point.